blessing of the Buddha be upon all of you. And from now on, we can start paying homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Dhamma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Dhamma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Dhamma Sambuddhassa. Roughly, we have about 6 until 6 p.m. So roughly about 2 hours. As I have given you the title earlier, daily stress shall we expect it to be words of pattern, to get words of pattern. So it's about daily stress. When we encounter stress, the instinct, natural instinct, for all of us, not just human beings, but also animals, is to fight or flee. That is, to protect ourselves. Because we see stress as a danger. So, on your mobile phone, if you have 3 important messages coming in almost at the same time, your stress, what we call the stressor kicks in. And it's likely the cortisol hormone starts increasing. So, why do we do that? Because subconsciously, the brain, the physical body, and also the subconscious mind, that is both mind and body, they are here to protect this psychophysical system, to protect itself. As a result, the protective mechanism comes in, meaning we go overdrive. Just like the immune system in the body, trying to protect the body from any virus, sometimes the body or the immune system can identify the virus is the virus that it knows. So the way the immune system is fighting is okay. But if the virus is new, is unfamiliar to the immune system, the immune system doesn't quite know what to do. So the immune system is confused, is overworking. It doesn't quite know the level of response. It doesn't quite know the level of response. That is why it spends more than energy it should, and perhaps not quite precise. In the same way, the mind happens like that. When the mind is unfamiliar with stress, the mind reacts to stress using more energy it should. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because our emotional energy as well as our physical energy has limitations. We all live with limitations. So within this limitation of the mental and physical capacity, how do we cope with our stress? This is a big question. And if we don't train ourselves, probably if we don't have the right attitude, it's likely we will run away. Complaining is a way of, is one of those methods that we use to run away from stress. Because we attempt, okay, to brush the stress aside, okay, by associating that particular stressful incident to somebody. Okay, this is somebody's fault, this is somebody's shortcoming. I'm not saying that we can't actually analyze the situation, but we have to do so without being emotional. Without being emotional means we need to actually train our emotion. I have sent to Merlin some video clips, especially two of them. One from Peter Linen from the Netherlands. I mean, both of them, they talk about not running away from stress, instead to recognize it. Of course, they use the Buddhist word suffering, not light word that we use, stress. Now today we use the word stress, which is actually very light compared with the word suffering. The word suffering is heavy weight. Do we expect it to get better or to get worse? Well, yes and no. Both yes and no. We need to expect it to get better in the long run because this is possible with human capacity. This is possible. The Buddha has proven it 2,600 years ago. But in the short run, we need to expect it to get worse, meaning we need to embrace it. When we embrace the stress, of course, we can feel the full force of the stress, the stressful situation. So, yes and no, and I analyze it in terms of short term and long term. In the long term, we expect it to get better. But in order to do better with stress, with daily stress in the long run, we need to embrace it in the short term. We need to embrace it. This is to say, we need to familiarize with stress, with daily stress. We need to expect it. When you leave home, going to work, it's best, okay, to expect a stressful day with your colleagues, with your team, with the work environment, also with customers. It's best to expect meaning to expect the worst. If you do that, you are dealing with stress at the conscious level. We have two levels of consciousness, conscious level and subconscious level. If we don't expect it, to use, a very popular word, if we are not mindful of stress, the subconscious response pattern will kick in. What happens if the subconscious mechanism pattern comes in and takes over? It will overuse the energy. Not only it will overuse the energy, there is no thinking in that process. The executive brain here in the ACC, anterior cingulate cortex, the prefrontal cortex, it wouldn't work with the subconscious response system. You will have heard of this Burmese and Pali word since you were little. It's called moha. Moha here in this context is subconscious reaction pattern. Subconscious reaction pattern. Basically is translated as ignorance. But the word ignorance, because we use in other areas of life. Here, psychologically, I just want to use the word subconscious reaction pattern or habitual reaction. A reaction that comes from habit, not from consideration, not from conscious outlook. Because of this, we never really learn about stress. No. Because of this, we are never prepared. Even for a traffic jam. Luckily with the COVID-19, there isn't much traffic jam. But this is only a temporary truth. Traffic jam is coming back. So is the stress associated with that. So as far as the Buddha is concerned, daily stress is something that we can make use of it. Something that we have to understand it. The guy from the Netherlands that I have just referred to, Peter Lehman, he recommended three points, three points that he used. I'd like to read you. The first one is recognize suffering. This is to recognize daily stress. To recognize daily stress. When you're working with people, there are times that we think differently. There are times that we respond to a situation differently. And those differences, they cause stress. This is one thing. This working with many people, you can't really expect anything else but stress. even within the family, within friends, okay? The people that we know so well in our life, they can be stressor, meaning the source of stress as well. So people at work, or people outside our work that we have to work with, whenever we go into a negotiation or a discussion, we have to, I really like the English expression of the benefit of doubt. I really like this because psychologically, giving somebody the benefit of doubt or giving yourself the benefit of doubt is actually to be generous with yourself, to be generous with other people. You have a lot of room to maneuver as a result. I think to give the benefit of doubt is for people who are I don't want to use the word but for want of it. I shall use it for people who are educated, self-aware, and also socially aware. It's for those people. Only then we can give the benefit of doubt. If we are aware of this, the benefit of doubt, usually we are not rigid. If we are not rigid, I want to claim that maybe 1/3 of your stress, your daily stress, will disappear automatically. 1/3 of your daily stress. If you just practice the benefit of doubt. The second one that Peter Linen has focused on is to focus on the essential. He doesn't say it that way. He says to focus on the need rather than the want. But I like to rephrase it by saying we need to focus on the essential. Meaning is something that you're trained in business to distinguish between the urgent and the important. So to focus on the important rather than the urgent. Peter Linen, he gave an example of Jane, a lady Jane, a patient, who has a son who is an addict, a drug addict. So at work, she feels stressed out. More than feeling stressed out, it's a burnout. It's a burnout. Because something in your mind is subconsciously overdriving, it never stops. If that happens, you are prone to a burnout. You got to be able to check yourself if a lot of subconscious thought is dominating your thinking process. This is very important. The whole point of meditating is this. just to get to know, just to equip ourselves so that we can check if our mind is subconsciously overworking. The family doctor and the psychiatrist treating Jane, they didn't ask enough questions. They didn't ask themselves enough questions. As a result, they didn't ask the patient enough questions. Because of that, Jane, naturally, people don't really want to talk about that family problem. So she never mentioned the problem of her son to them. So without treating the source of stress, they treated the symptom, which is burnout, her problem of burnout. She took some time off from work, but in the long run, that didn't happen. It came back. Why? Because she didn't confront or embrace the family stress, the stress that comes from her son. She was trying to avoid it. In the United Kingdom, it's the government rules and regulation that the GP, the family doctor, they only give one patient 10 minutes. I have a lot of various GP complaining to me that some of the patients, they take up as much as 30 minutes, and as a result, they have to stay longer at work, they have to work overtime. As a result, they feel exhausted. That's the system. Within 10 minutes, it's very hard to know your patient well. So as a result, many doctors misdiagnose their patient. This is not common. It's not something that is common only to the doctors. It's common also to ourselves. We misdiagnose our own problem. So to ask a lot of questions with the benefit of doubt attitude. And the last one that Peter Lehman proposed is to use the level of suffering as a powerful tool, meaning to use your stress level as a tool, as a powerful tool to cope with stress, to manage your stress. So in order to manage your stress, you need to use the stress itself as an instrument. When I was a young novice, I was taught one thing that I didn't quite understand. It says that the mud, when we get dirty with mud, the mud becomes mud, dirt becomes mud because of water. Without water, it's just dirt, it's not mud. So the source of mud is the water. So what do we do then to solve this, to clean ourselves from mud? We need to use that water, the source of mud. So if the stress now I can apply this to stress. If the source of stress is a certain mental behavior, a certain psychological pattern that we have, then we need to embrace this stress and including that psychological pattern. It's painful at the beginning, but only for a short while, I can promise you. Otherwise, you will all switch off and run away. I promise you, okay, it's just for a short while. You embrace your stress. That is why the Buddhist approach, you have heard of this Burmese word from your young age, Tissa-liba. This is four truth. The first truth is that suffering exists. It exists universally. This is the fourth, but the first truth, the truth of suffering, is called Dukkha Tissa in Burmese. The truth of suffering. So we need to recognize it. It is a reality. We need to recognize it. There's no other way around it. We need to confront it. And so today I'm going to be guiding you a short meditation. Just 2 minutes meditation each, just 2 minutes, okay? Today is a discount. When you meet me in person, okay, that will be a full session. Today, 2 minutes, but we do in 3 sessions. The first session is just to focus on breathing, and you will be ignoring anything else. The way to do that is to breathe in and out slow and gentle. When you breathe in, you're going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count 1 up to 5 for one in-breath. For the out-breath, you just let go naturally. Okay, so we are going to be doing this. We are going to be doing this now. I'm going to set up my alarm. Okay, that's 2 minutes. You can start now and make yourself comfortable. Make yourself comfortable. Relax the muscles. Make yourself comfortable. Relax the muscles around your ears, around your forehead, around your head. And also, if you have been reading a lot of news on social medias, you will have a lot of tension around your eyes. Okay, so relax them. And now breathe in and out, slow and gentle. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's 2 minutes now. And actually, we have got Zoom disconnected for a few seconds because of the electricity here. Now I think we are back. This 2 minutes mindfulness of breathing session is very important because it gives you a break from that subconscious overdriving. You only discover that your mind is all over the places when you pause for 2 minutes like this. And this 2 minutes session will ensure that your working and your thinking process is more efficient. So, do not think that 2 minutes is nothing. It's actually a lot. But this 2 minutes is a simple breathing. I haven't taken medical consideration into the breathing pattern. If we are going to do that, we need to pause our breathing between breathing in and breathing out. People who join from New York, there is a place in New York, I don't know exactly the place, but there is a website called Breath Work. And they teach you how to breathe like this, breathing in, and then you hold your breath, and then you breathe out. So this is what we're going to be doing in the next session, the second one. Breathing in this time, we are going to count 1 to 7. Earlier we did 5. This time we do 7. And after you breathe in, counting 1 to 7, you're going to be holding your breath. Again, counting 1 to 7. Okay. Breathing out, you let go naturally. So the difference between this session and the last session is you increase the number and you hold your breath. In addition to that, I'm going to ask you to pay attention. Where do you feel tense in your physical body? Is it around the back of your head, or your shoulders, or around your ears, or somewhere around your forehead, around your eyes? People who use a lot of brain work, who do a lot of brain work, this is the area they feel. They feel tension. Another place you might feel tension is your system, your tummy. So, in the course of breathing, if you become aware of tension in any of those areas, you will have the opportunity to relax. You can only relax if you accept that there is tension, if you are aware that there's tension. So mindfulness is the foundation of everything, including physical relaxation. So, ready for another 2 minutes? If you like, you can have a nice glass of water or any drink. And we are going to do this 2 minutes breathing session. Okay, ready now. I have set up the time, 2 minutes. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in, count 1 to 7. Slow and gentle breathing. And hold your breath, count 1 to 7 as well. Then breathe out. Don't fight with tension around your head or any part of your body. Look at them as your child, asking for your attention. So you pay compassionate attention, empathetic attention to the physical body, the part of the body that is tense. Just scan your Okay, now another session is accomplished, and each time we meditate, the Zoom goes off. Is the law of impermanence. We are starting to use the stress as an instrument, as a tool to cope with stress. During this second session, I have asked you to recognize the physical stress, physical tension that you may have. Instead of running away from them, instead of stretching yourself, stretch away, instead of going off, going out for a walk, to do some physical exercise, or to switch yourself off straight away. I want you to develop this habit of giving yourself 2 minutes and just recognize and stay with that stress. Where is the stress? We need to recognize the symptoms. Is there physical tension around the forehead, at the back of the head? Or maybe the face, facial tension, or the shoulders, tension, or short of breath. Short of breath is, I'm not talking about the virus symptoms, I'm talking about the stress symptom. People who are under stress and are not aware of themselves being under enormous stress. No mindfulness. At that moment, their oxygen supply is impacted. If that happens, the physiological system of coping with stress is not efficient anymore at that time. So, the other video clip that I sent out earlier, Professor Richard Davison from Wisconsin University. He is one of the leading scientists who have introduced meditation to the scientific community worldwide, especially from clinical, psychological point of view and neurological point of view. The video is quite old, it's 9 years old, 2011, but the finding is still valid. He actually talks about something that I often mention in my workshops. The 2 brain areas. The old brain at the back, which is the amygdala, and the new brain, which is at the front, which is called cortex of anything, prefrontal cortex and other. So we can say is new brain, which is only unique to human being. So in coping with stress, remember only the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus area, the ACC, anterior cingulate cortex area. Only these areas can make use of stress as a tool, as an instrument in solving the problem of daily stress. If we are not coping with stress well, if we don't recover on daily basis, it's likely that the amygdala part of the brain is overtaking it. The default position of the brain may be the amygdala. It can happen to you, it can happen to your family member who is unusually, unreasonably negative, okay, towards themselves and towards you. Maybe people at work, okay, who who don't seem to have a reasonable level of resilience. Instead, they can easily go into negative mood, and becomes negative towards the job they do, the job other people do. Just complain, and certainly that affects you. That affects the whole environment. So, Professor Richard Davidson mentioned, he uses the word social and emotional environment having impact on the brain. And which part of the brain? Of course, the positive part is the frontal part of the brain. The negative part, which is based on fear, is the amygdala part. So very simple. Of course, 11 years ago, there was a novel finding, new finding. Now, within a decade, many researchers have replicated his research, and the findings have been the same. So the scientific community who has been studying mindfulness and compassion, they have actually come to how do you say, a very solid agreement among themselves. How can we master our brain? How can we make our brain more efficient? In order to do that, we need to be aware of our social and emotional habit. Our social habit, of course, earlier, the first video clip, Peter Linnen from the Netherlands, he has already said that we need to recognize suffering. And he uses one of his patients, James, as an example. Social environment, that is her son, James' son, causing him a lot of stress. And unaware of that social source of stress means Jane was not treated properly. She was treated, but it took a long time. But in the end, she lost her job because she didn't get better. The company has reached its limit in taking care of its employees. But within 4 months, which is less than the time that her earlier employers had given her, generously, I would say, generously given. Now, Peter Lennon, of course, he is an entrepreneur with mental health. These four months, he took care of them. The son, Jane's son, gave him proper treatment. Surprisingly, because of that, Jane didn't actually need any medical treatment, and she recovered fully. So, social environment, where is the stress? Where is the social stress? Earlier, I mentioned the word stressor. Stressor. That's a technical term to indicate social stress. The social stress. There's no other way but to confront it with compassion, to acknowledge that there is stress. It's compassionate. It's compassion. We're being kind to ourselves by acknowledging our stress. By acknowledging the stress of someone next to us, we are being kind to them. Of course, we need to acknowledge their stress non-judgmentally. Don't judge them. Don't be judgmental. I don't know how to use this word, premise. I'm trying to find a proper expression, be non-judgmental. Don't be judgmental. But we know when we speak in English, don't be judgmental. We know what it means and what to do. We know it. When you automatically complain, I think you're being judgmental about yourself, perhaps about others too. When you want to complain, give yourself 2 minutes before you actually speak it out. Just breathe in and out and embrace that pain, the urge to complain, the urge to apportion blame on someone else. Just look at them, okay, without speaking out straight away. Just give yourself 2 minutes. Today, all I ask you is 2 minutes. 2 minutes meditation session, and to develop a habit of 2 minutes. 2 minutes of, taking a pause. Even in a meeting, you can do that. In a meeting, in a 30 minutes meeting, to take 2 minutes, you will save the other 28 minutes. You will maintain a good working, a positive atmosphere. Emotional environment is the other one. The other issue that Professor Richard Davidson has emphasized. Remember, when he was a PhD student at Harvard University in 1971, I think, 71 or 70, he and his friend Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, they went off to India to study meditation, first from the Hindu sadhu in the ashram. Then they ended up in Bodh Gaya, at the Burmese temple. First, they studied meditation in 2 retreats continuously, being taught by one of Mahasi Sayadaw's disciple, an Indian person, an Indian national called Mudindraji. Straight away after that, Sayadaw Goenka arrived at Bodh Gaya and conducted 10 days meditation retreat continuously. Professor Richard Davidson, he participated in those 5 meditation sessions too. So altogether, at the first meditation attempt, Buddhist meditation attempt, he continuously meditated for 70 days, that's more than 2 months, as a PhD student. Because of his experience, he became so determined. He became so determined to bring mindfulness to the scientific community, and through that to the community worldwide. For the last 50 years, he's around 70, in his early 70s. For the last 40 years, he has never stopped meditating. So what he says is that in addition to the social stressor, shall we say stressor, the social stress from the social environment, look at if the social environment is outside, the emotional stress is within yourself. How do you react to what the other person is saying? In the example, in the first video clip, Jane, the mother, and her son. Her son is the social environment. Social environment. Her own reaction is the emotional environment. Remember these two, social and emotional reactions. These two. You may not have an overall control over the social environment, but you have 100% control over your own emotional response. I'm explaining Professor David Richardson's work now. So we're talking about 2 kinds of awareness. When we talk about emotional awareness, we are talking about self-awareness. When we talk about social awareness, we are talking about, when we talk about the social environment, we are talking about social awareness, meaning awareness of other people. Only when these two kinds of awareness come together, we can learn and grow out of daily stress. We can learn and grow stronger, go stronger. When we grow stronger, that in the long run, distress doesn't, it won't get to us as much as we are facing now. Now with the COVID-19, whenever you look at your mobile phone, your iPad, your computer, you only read upsetting news. Not only the infection rate, the death rate, the number, that keeps increasing. But the responses of those in power, you may have a lot of judgments about them. That is why I sent in one further piece of news from Belgium and also from London, because he's a Belgian working in London. Professor Peter Piet, a top advisor to the European President European Commission on the infectious diseases. He's an expert in Ebola, but he himself got this COVID-19. He talked about his experiences. One thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that the scientific community worldwide is still learning about this COVID-19. They don't quite know yet, according to him, what will happen to the physical organ of the patient who had recovered. They don't know yet. Because they don't know enough yet. They don't have a big picture yet. They are still learning as a scientist. When they advise the government, how on earth we can expect the government to do everything right? So don't get so wound up, so agitated with any government. You need to feel that pain because they are uncertain. And they have to behave as politicians do. They have to behave as if they know. What a terrible burden to be thrust upon you. And especially when it involves life and death like this. Now, all the business communities around the world, they can only look at the decision makers, the government, about what to do with their business. I'm in touch with some of the embassies because the country, if you'd like to know the position, the country vice chairman of Religion for Peace. Religion for Peace. So people are thinking, if some of the developments and some government are thinking, if the situation gets out of hand, out of control, if not just the hospital but also the government becomes overwhelmed, economic hardship could lead to communal tension, they think. That's what they think. I told them each community has a different level of resilience based on their culture. based on their culture. So this is the time to link with to link with what the Buddha has given us. This psychological knowledge. This is something embedded in our culture. Starting with this 2 minutes practice. 2 minutes practice. Each time 2 minutes. I do, in the morning, because when I was in London before I moved to Oxford, I used to have gastric ulcer. So if I work very hard at night, then sometime early in the morning I get some gas produced. Then I wake up. So what I do is I would take about 2 minutes meditating on that discomfort before I take water, before I do anything. I give myself 2 minutes. As a result, I become very sensitive of hunger. So the first time when I see people, when visitors come, the first thing I think of is that meal time, is would they need any food or drink, that would come to my mind. This comes from this 2 minutes practice. So when you are hungry, after when all the food is ready, you are at the dining table. If you can give yourself 2 minutes, just look into your physical body. Suffering from hunger. I want to use this word, suffering from hunger. Just take 2 minutes and do that. If you do that when you eat, not only that you will eat mindfully, but you will also use that discomfort from hunger to connect with your fellow human being. Because when we are hungry, we get short temper. We lose our temper easily. We get irritated easily. So when you see someone getting irritated, if a thought comes to your mind, maybe the person is hungry, maybe the person is thirsty, without knowing it, and he or she is getting carried away by stress. If this thought comes to your mind, you will have a higher level of tolerance toward that person. It may be true that person is hungry or that person may not be hungry, it may be something else. But to have that thought, to give the benefit of doubt, oh, this person may be hungry. If not actually hungry, but if the person is deficient in some vitamins, this is equal to hunger. It's the same as malnutrition. So now I want to leave maybe about 40 minutes for Q&A. Before that, we still have the last session, another 2 minutes. This time, I'm going to ask you to embrace stress fully. Okay? Prepare. These 2 minutes, I'm just going to ask you to think about stress. You can, if you're not used to this, you can touch and go. Think about your stress. Think about members of your family's stress. Think about the stress of your colleagues. Each one, just touch and go, touch and go. Don't forget, to maintain breathing in and out. You don't need to count your breathing anymore. You don't need to hold your breathing anymore. Breathe in and out regularly. I will be reminding you to do that. Especially think about stress associated with the COVID-19, this coronavirus. The business, the job that is being affected, the inconveniences of being confined to your home, maybe. If you are part of the essential workers, if you have to go to work, and think about fear. Think about the new normal situation or the abnormal situation that we are in. Okay. Anything new can bring a lot of uncertainty. If you go to work, you only see half of the people. If you have to do more work, not only that, you look at everything. You look at, okay, I have my books, all these things, these days I don't allow other people to handle them. I don't allow other people to handle them, just to be on the cautious side. Why? This is fear. This is fear, it's nothing else. So, if I'm aware of this fear of being infected, then I stay on top of that stress. But if I'm not aware of it, then I become obsessed with fear, that I'm no longer on top of stress. Okay, now another 2 minutes of meditation. Relax. Breathe in and out, slow and gentle. Try to find our stress, physical stress first. Sitting long. Do you feel any tension in your body? And then just look at that tension with understanding. Accepting. Breathe in and out regularly, slow and gentle. Now think about stress caused by the COVID-19. Here in Taoji, my Buddhist university has been in lockdown long before the government imposed it. We are aware of the stress. We are aware of the stress of wearing mask, even face shield. Having to wash our hands with sanitizer very often. Inconveniences being confined to home. having to get used to a new normal life. Also stress when reading news, when feeling unhappy with decision makers, with certain people. Just embrace your emotional pain, your emotional suffering. Don't judge yourself. I shouldn't be doing like this, I shouldn't be like that, you know. If you hear that kind of voice from your head, embrace that pain as well, that judgmental pain. Breathe in and out, slow and gentle. Okay, it's 2 minutes now. It's 2 minutes now. Any question? How do I get your question? Would you type or would you speak?
Mr. Tiao, there are some questions that I have.
In this way, the amygdala will not kick in. The people we love, and then starting from family members, then to friends, we go on like this. Only at the end, we bring in the people we find difficult. We find difficult to work with. Only then we bring in. You're giving yourself an uphill task if you're going to start with them first. You're not strong enough to do that. We are not strong enough to do that. So we need to surround ourselves with people who have goodwill towards us and try to recognize their stress, develop empathy towards them. Then you are activating the hippocampus area, the anterior cingulate cortex. You need to activate that part of the brain first. If you're going to start with difficult people first, you're going to activate the amygdala first. And an easy task becomes a difficult one. A difficult one becomes even more difficult. And so the starting point is one tip. Okay, one tip. And look at also your attitude. Are you doing mindfulness in order to suppress your negative reaction or in order to run away from this? Then you need to change this attitude. You need to use the, I keep quoting Peter Linen from the Netherlands because he expresses the Buddha's word very beautifully. He says, okay, to use the level of suffering to find a way out. If you have watched his video clip, 8 minutes video clip, it says sometimes if the level of stress is too much, we wouldn't have the capacity to cope with that. But if it's too low, we wouldn't have the motivation to do something, to do anything at all. So to actually look at a mindfulness level or compassion level, the ability to connect, that capacity level is also important. I would call this self-awareness. Any more questions?
I personally have a question for you, Van Rolster. I understand that mindfulness meditation definitely does give you a sense of discipline and focus. But I personally have such a terrible focus and attention span. So what would be your advice on that?
A 2-minute session is designed for people like you. You don't really need a lot of concentration. I am somebody, okay, who has never relied on deep concentration because I don't have one. In the last meditation session that I joined in the Bangu, 2 hours, throughout hush, we do hush breathing. The mind was very focused on the breath, on the tip of the nostril. But I could still find my mind managing things, thinking about things, that habit is very strong. So what do I do is I use my thinking habit to my advantage. So I would constantly make effort to push my thinking towards positive thinking. I just check, is this negative thinking, is this positive thinking? I just check this one, very simple. If it's negative thinking, then I bring in compassion to feel my own pain, to feel my own limitation, my own shortcoming, and healing would occur. Healing would occur. But sometimes, when I look at other people, there will be time, even with this kind of mudita practice, this positive thinking practice, there are times that negative thinking interrupts. There are times. Then I would push myself to use my thinking to find positive things in that person. That in itself is meditation. Look at the whole world, okay? How people have become more generous than before because of the COVID-19. And look at how the scientists, the virologists, how they have, and biologists, how they have gone into extra miles just to save all of us. Just to save all. And the other day, the WHO, European Union, and many other countries came together to fund this. So a lot of positive things going on. A lot of positive things going on. I actually follow the news of people doing big things to small things for each other during this, inside the country and outside the country. And I absorb as I absorb them, through my positive thinking exercise. As a result, I just think, okay, despite the COVID-19, I just think I'm so lucky to be alive at this age, in time. I mean, in this world, having a lot of wonderful people inside, outside the country. Of course, there are people whose decision might impact you directly. So in a few weeks' time, if I ever decide to return to Oxford, to the United Kingdom, you know, the government has just come up with a decision to quarantine everyone. But despite that inconvenience, I look at that positively, that they are trying to protect people, including me. That decision may be explainable scientifically, or it may not. We don't know. I don't think they are 100% sure either. You see, they are feeling the water as they go. I really, really sympathize with any person in power having to make a decision of this magnitude. But I can feel, you know, they're trying to do something. They're trying to do something. Of course, this doesn't stop me from being critical. I have written an article in the Journal comparing how the government of Germany and the United Kingdom have done so far, or have fared in response to this COVID-19. But I also take my own medicine. You know, I give myself the benefit of doubt. I might be wrong. I covered Johns Hopkins University's data, and I do some analysis.
So as a beginner to mindful and meditation practitioner per se, I do take away that diverting positive thoughts, positive thinking will definitely help with my own habit and a new behavior, I suppose. I wanted to touch on something else which is also very concerning to us. Beside mindful and meditation, what else can we do to support our frontliners with coping with stress? Because, you know, as we all know, there is a doctor in New York City who committed suicide because she was overwhelmed and overworked. So can you please address us with what are the alternative, what if there is any other options that we should be doing or helping with our frontliners, sir?
A Buddhist practice designed for this is called deep listening. When somebody is quite frustrated, like the New York doctor, her father said that she didn't have any history of depression. But when she was overwhelmed by work, she needed to share. She needed to talk. Whatever she was witnessing around her, okay, wasn't up to her expectation. That's what we call being overwhelmed. Maybe hospitals, maybe healthcare workers, maybe the system, maybe public health, and whatever. Beijing, just yesterday, you know, they also acknowledge the shortcoming in that. I mean, every country, we have their shortcoming in this. So, I regret that she didn't have this one. In normal circumstances, we would call this counseling or psychotherapy session. She needed that. She needed somebody to listen to her frustration. perhaps, okay, also help her to see a big picture. A big picture. Of course, when you compare New York with California, as a Yankee, you're going to be frustrated with what has been happening. But things happen for that good reason. For that good reason. So what we can do then is to be part of the solution, to allow ourselves to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. In order to do that, we must take care of ourselves so that we don't become emotionally overwhelmed. That particular doctor, she was emotionally overwhelmed. To use Professor Richard Davidson's word, social environment, that's what she saw in the hospital. Emotional environment, that's how she reacted. Remember, at that point, in that doctor, which part of her brain would be active? So we need to take care of our healthcare workers, our frontline workers, our essential workers. Okay, with this mindfulness session and also more break in between at work. I watch how the nurses, not sure the doctor, the nurses in South Korea, how they rotate. In some hospitals, people in the PPE, they work for 2 hours. In some places, only 1 hour. That's how they take care of their healthcare work. And earlier during this COVID-19, when I listened to the superintendent of the hospital, having patient, coming to see him, and he was not prepared. So he received that unprepared. That it turned out that one of them had virus. So this is about taking care of our frontline work. But in some places, especially in the United Kingdom, I got, through my iPhone, I got messages from my GP all the time. They say, don't come, don't call. Don't come to the clinic and also don't call. I can understand that limit. I can understand that. But sometimes, there is a part of me that would like to complain, well, this is too much. This is too much. But then I watch my own emotional reaction and try to understand the whole system. And the Burmese doctor, Dr. Peter Kintoon, who passed away at Reading, that's Berkshire Hospital, was a close friend of mine. We have known each other for 24 years. But I'm in touch with the family, so I explain from inside stories as well. To give a small dose of mindfulness and compassion very often. If you can take a break every hour for 2 minutes, that's going to help you a lot. Every 2 hours, No, sorry, every 1 hour, every hour for 2 minutes. Relax. If whatever you do, you break just for 2 minutes. That's going to be very helpful. Do I answer your question?
I believe you have, sir.
Thank
So
you.
and just wanted to be mindful of the time, the remaining time. We have 8 minutes remaining. So I would like to ask you probably a final answer, and depending on the time left after you have answered the questions, we may or may not have another one. But so allow me to ask the next question, Venerable Sir. Due to coronavirus, some businesses have terminated staff members, and how can we as business owner compassionately handle the situation, and with what advice can you give the staff after the businesses have let them go?
I think that letting the people off in any circumstances at work, this kind of thing happens all the time. But we may say that at this particular point of time is particularly more difficult. But having said this, if the business doesn't make sense, and if it cannot continue, if it's not sustainable, everybody will suffer. As a result, we need to take this one. Of course, in normal practices, employers usually take care of the employees who have to leave for a limited period of time. But having said that, okay, what is important is to tell them that this is not their fault. This is an unforeseen circumstances being imposed on all the businesses in the world. But they don't really need to feel bad personally. It's not about personal shortcoming. Rather, it's about rearranging the businesses so that it has the resilience to face this unexpected the problem, and that the problem will be longer. We don't really know. We need to tell them frankly about the uncertainty that we don't really know. We are just doing our best, and we hope with everybody sacrificing, including the business, including the employees, with everybody doing their bit, we hope, as we have always done in the past, every time there is financial crash, every time there is depression, every time there is war, every time there is natural disaster, that we do something and we come back. This is the beauty of the beauty and the strength of human being, of human heart. Okay. So what is important is that we are in this bad time together with other things, with other people, not just our country, but every country. So this is painful. We need to accept, we need to recognize the pain that they're going through. At the same time, they also need to recognize that a business will only survive if it makes, if it's prepared to make difficult decision. And the most important thing is, as I mentioned earlier, this is not personal. Okay. But I think we have come to the end of our session. If you have any more questions, of course, tomorrow it will be in Burmese. In Burmese, you can still ask me, or you can send me your email electronically. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining today's session, and we are going to recite Buddha Pratana Siddhan Teju 3 times together to wrap up the session. Buddha Pratana Siddhan Teju, Buddha Pratana Siddhan Teju, Buddha Pratana Siddhan Teju, Tadu, Tadu, Tadu.
Everyone, on behalf of everyone at KBZ Bank and Fortune TV, I would like to thank you, Venerable Sir, for giving us the time, and everyone who attended today's live seminar. Wish you all good health and stay safe. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Same to you, and more energy and more resilient to all of you. Thank you.